I feel bad for all the boys, y'all. I feel bad for all of the boys, even though none of these couples should have got married, and I'm glad they didn't. It's just the way I'm like, damn, y'all could have did this so much differently, so much differently. But if y'all are new here, hit subscribe. Do that real quick. I cannot wait for this reunion. That's the best part. I feel like that's for this particular season. That's the part I've been waiting for the most, just to see where everybody is a whole year later. I saw some shit online. Somebody told me in my comments that Joe and what's the girl's name? Casey was the reason as to why. Well, it wasn't the reason, but that's what Madison was referring to with the single stuff. Crazy, not shocked though. But I just can't wait to see where everybody is now and what happened, because I'm pretty sure there's more drama. But yeah, if y'all are new here, hit subscribe, thumbs up the video, do that real quick. Get in the comments, hype the video. We're gonna break down these weddings or not. We're gonna get into them. Let's go. All right, so the episode starts off with the bachelorette and bachelor parties. And we're going to skip through a lot of this, but I mean, we're not really going to skip through it. We're just going to talk about the main points. But Megan's friends, the difference between Megan's friends and Allie's friends, stark difference. Megan's friends are pretty much talking about things that you should be questioning before actually getting married. And they're like, I mean, the question that we've really been questioning is if Jordan and your lifestyle is actually going to mix. We all knew that it wasn't going to mix. We knew that Megan knew that, and we knew that Jordan knew that too, just looking at how they've been acting since being out of the pods for real. Because like being in the pods, you can state certain things are good and whatnot, but whenever you're actually living them, that's when it really makes sense and doesn't make sense. And we could see that. But one of her friends ended up asking, like, or pretty much stating, like, my biggest concern is you pretty much stating yes because you fell in love with the kid and that'll complicate your feelings. I was like, also, yeah, we know they were trauma bonding. But Megan was like, yeah, I already have fallen in love with the child. But then we get over to Allie's friends, who her friends that's over there, they're about to be divorced. Keep that in mind. But her roommate, who's doing most of the talking, talks about how Anton might be on a budget with providing. I was like, okay, I see why. Because like we've already been thinking the same thing. I already said that Allie is looking for a sugar daddy. It's clear as day. But she says that he makes good money, but not really good money. I'm like, truck drivers make good money. But her friend then asked Allie if she feels okay with him being a truck driver because somebody of her caliber would look down on him driving trucks. I said, but this just proves how shallow Allie is, and it proves how because like your friends, like I state all the time, you are who you associate with. So if your friends are that shallow to look down on somebody for making an honest living, and not only that, him driving trucks, they make good money. Like let's not play crazy. Like that's crazy to me. Like the way they was looking down on him, I was like, ew, like nasty. But Allie was like, I mean, normally if somebody told me they wanted to drive trucks, I would be like, But he talks about all these future endeavors. I'm like, Allie, you ain't shit either. Like, they're trash, like completely trash. But then we find out, like I stated, that they're going to be getting divorced soon anyway. So I said, at this point, y'all's advice is pointless because y'all ain't shit either. Like, shut up. But Anton, he's over there and he's telling the boys, like, all the things that he loves about Allie and whatnot. Like, there are things that she does that he doesn't like, but he values the positives. Like, she ain't bringing shit to the table. That's the craziest part about it. She ain't bringing shit to the table. Yes, she's going to school and she's trying to get her education and whatnot. But while doing that, she's not bringing anything to the table. She don't want to cook and clean. She just wants to have him fund her Botox and fund her life while she goes and gets her life. I'm like, it's just rich coming from you to be the one judging somebody when you don't bring nothing to the table. But we get to Allie and Anton's wedding day. So Allie arrives first. Anton arrives. They're both looking very optimistic. They both seem ready to go. Anton is like, my biggest fear is getting to that altar and her stating no. She's getting ready with her friends. Allie, her energy is screaming, okay, I'm about to do this. I'm about to get married. So she's telling them how Anton's friend's fiance texted her, pretty much telling her, like, trust your gut. It's going to be a beautiful day. I was thinking it was the fiance. I was thinking it was the girlfriend that was at the meeting with them. But then I forgot too, that's not a girlfriend. I mean, that's not the fiance, that's the girlfriend. But one of the friends ends up asking what I was thinking, is that the one that pretty much told you all that shit? And Allie was like, no, that one is the friend that's a girlfriend of 3 months. But she was stating here that she didn't know if she could truly trust what was being stated to her because she hadn't seen that the last 3 weeks. Remember, she said that shit. She said that. But her mom was like, I mean, I'm scared because in our family, we don't drink. Allie says, I mean, I do. But Allie then says that she feels like he deserves grace. Remember, she said all of this stuff. But her mom then says, like, it's not okay. I don't like it. Here we go. But Anton, his mom is coming in as he's pretty much getting himself ready, and she's checking in on him. He's nervous, and she's just trying to calm him down. She's speaking good things into him. She's telling him everything's going to be okay. And she tells him as she's getting him ready, like she's pouring into him. She's telling him, you have nothing to worry about. She states, like, if she says no, that's just your experience. If she says yes, I'll apply. So at this point, she's preparing him for whatever happens, you're going to be okay. We're going to be here to pick you up. But Allie's got her dress on now, and she's in there with her mom and her bridesmaids. And her mom is pretty much telling her, like, I support you always. Anton's mom comes in there, and it's just the three of them in there, him, his mom, her mom, and her. And Anton's mom is telling her how beautiful she looks. She does look good. She looks really, really beautiful. But they're telling her how beautiful she looks. She finally gets to meet Allie's mom for the first time. Anton's mom is getting very emotional, and Allie's pretty much telling her how much she loves Anton and how well his mother did raising him. And Anton's mom is like, I just want you to know how wonderful he is, how his soul is, because that's what she was telling him too. Like, she just got to fall in love with your soul. That's all that really matters. And she's telling this to Allie. So Allie was like, I know, I love him. She's giving her all of those reassurances. So his mom says, like, listen to your heart. Her mom says the same. So Anton's mom leaves, and in comes Allie's sisters, and it's all three of her sisters. The two sisters that are, I guess, the ones that she was on better terms with, they're clearly on better terms with her because they're a little bit more excited to see her. The other sister that's sitting in the back is Naira. I didn't realize it was Naira until they said it, but then again, I realized it too by the way she was acting. I'm like, okay, yeah, because she looked like there was tension. You could tell she didn't really want to be there, and I was like, damn. But the first two, like I said, they were happy. Naira's standing in the back, but she comes up to the front. Allie starts crying immediately, and you can hear her heart beating as she's hugging her. But she thanks her for coming, and Naira then says, I don't approve. But you're grown, and I love you, and I'll be happy. And if you think that he'll make you happy, go for it. And you can tell in this moment, to me, I felt like this is when Allie made her decision for real. But we'll talk about it in a minute. But we get to the wedding. They have a small party. I ain't gonna say it's not too many people there, but it's not too many people there. But Anton walks out with his mom. Allie arrives with her mom and her stepdad. And she's sitting there talking about she's about to faint before she walks in there. And they're telling her how beautiful she is. But she walks on in, and Anton is smiling super big as he sees her. She's smiling as well. Like, everything looks good. Everything looks like it's about to happen. But they get face to face. He's telling her again how stunning she looks. And the officiant begins. So Anton pretty much tells her how he fell for her. He states, like, there's like no good thing comes easy. And he's excited to just like experience life with her. Even though there's going to be goods and bads, he's pretty much excited to do life with her, essentially. She talks about how falling in love with him was easy. You're going to hear this again later on. She said, falling in love with you was easy. I love how you embraced me in the pods and continue to do so outside, even with our disagreements. And she says that she thinks that they know the things that they need to know to make that decision. So when she said all of that, I was like, okay, so how is this going to go? So the officiant then gets to the point where she asks Anton if he takes Allie to be his wife. Both of them are looking nervous at this point. He takes a little minute. I don't know if it was dramatic effect from the editing, but it looks like it was because the officiant's looking at him for a while before he says anything. But he eventually says yes, like he does. So then the officiant asks Allie, do you take Anton to be your husband? She immediately starts looking down. She's starting to breathe hard. She's looking at him, and she then says that she can't be his wife. I said, you trifling. You went all day doing this like you were literally about to. I don't get that. I don't get how you can go all day, get to that point, and then say no. I feel like you know before you get down there. Ain't no way you can't tell. You cannot tell me that you didn't know until that moment. Like, please. But she's doing all that. And I'm like, you let your family, that's really what it is. You let your family and your friends dictate what you was feeling. And I'm like, I still feel like they shouldn't have been together, honestly. But I feel like she already knew that, though. That's my whole point. Like, the whole drinking stuff, that was her biggest gripe. Do I feel like she has a reason to feel the way that she felt? Yes. Like, we don't know exactly the extent of what he was drinking and how he was drinking. But if that was such a big deal for you in that moment, you should have broke it off. Like, why would you do this to him now? because it's embarrassing him. It's a humiliation ritual, if you're asking me, because you let this man get to this point, has his family here, and then do this. Like, I'm like, I don't get that. But she then says that she feels like the person that she met in the pods isn't the person she met in real life. I said, so why would you say what you just said? Why would you say all of that? Why would you have all these people come here if you already knew that? Because you didn't just come to that premonition right then and there that he's not the person that you met in the pods. You probably thought that when you found them drinks that were missing. Like, come on, Allie. That's crazy to me. That's crazy. But they drop hands, and she says she's sorry, and she walks off crying with her mom. And I feel bad for Anton. I'm like, damn, like, that's fucked up. But she's now crouched down crying. Her sister and friends are over there with her. Anton's family is comforting him. And one of Anton's friends was like that cold-hearted fucking bitch. And a lot of people, I've been looking on Twitter, a lot of people are like, she wrong for saying that, she out of line for saying it. What about what she said was wrong? That was cold-hearted. You knew that you didn't want to marry him, yet you waited to get him to that point where he's super happy thinking it's going to happen. And then you drop it like you just came to that. You didn't just come to that decision then. You been knew that. You knew that. You was playing it up. So yes, it is cold-hearted because it's like you didn't really think about him in that moment. Because if roles reversed, he'd have been a cold-hearted motherfucker too. Like, let's keep it real. But Allie's crew, they walk her back. She's crying, telling them to get her out of the dress. I'm like, if you didn't want to do it, why did you go through all of that? I just don't get it, because I know she knew. She knew. But they then asked, like, is she mostly upset because she hurt him? And she says yes. And the other friend says, like, it would have been more hurtful essentially marrying him when it wasn't the right fit. I said yes, but again, if she knew that, she should have never went through all of this. Like, it's a humiliation ritual. But Allie then says that she wishes that he would have said no. So you would have just wanted him to say no. Like, at that point, it's weird. But she said that she was hoping that it would make her feel at ease and confident standing up there, but it just didn't feel like the moment that she wanted. But she then says that she doesn't feel like he was forthcoming with his lifestyle, and the information that she got from his friends threw her off. I said, yet you literally just said earlier, when your friend asked you about it, you stated that you couldn't tell if it was accurate or not, and then you felt like he deserved grace. But now I'm like, Allie, I don't get you. I don't get you. But and it's like, with me stating all of this, she has every right to make that decision. I just felt like she was grown enough, and I feel like she already knew that answer. So why wait until that moment to humiliate him? Why wait till that moment to have all of his friends and family come out there when you already knew that? You already knew that. We already knew she didn't want to marry him when they had that conversation about him having Patrick there, and he went through 2 cases of 12 packs. The way she looked at him in that scene, that's when we all knew she was not marrying him, and she knew that. I just don't get it. But she then says that it feels really shitty walking away. I said, I wonder how it feels being the one stood up. Like, how he feels. Like, that probably feels a lot more shitty. But Anton, he's back in his room, and he was like, I just don't know if it was the look. I don't know the vibe. I don't know if it was the vibes or the way that we were living. But all I can say is I've done nothing but care for her, and it sucks. I do believe that. Granted, I feel like Anton, if he does have a drinking problem, I don't want to diagnose that on him. But if he does, that's something that he's gonna have to work out himself. But from what we've seen on the show, he has not treated her bad at all. Like, he's treated her the way that you should. But we then move to KB and Edmund. Let me pause. They both arrive individually. He's stating that he's never had a love like this, and she's essentially everything he's prayed for. He's ready to marry her. He ain't got no cold feet. He said, my feet are hot. I said, damn. But he then is sitting there getting emotional, as he always does. KB's bridal party, they're there with her. She says when she thinks of Edmund, she sees a loving, trying, healing, growing, stubborn man when she sees Edmund, but he makes her feel loved. Like Allie, KB is all day super giddy. I'm about to do this. Even though I'm stating what I'm about to state, I'm glad none of these couples got married, because y'all know I've been saying it all season. But it's just I feel like there's a way to do certain things. But her sister states, I wonder where Mama's at. And KB's like, she probably in there with Edmund because she loved her some Edmund. And of course, she was in there talking to Edmund. But she goes in there and she tells him that she wanted to let him know that she's excited. She asks who he has coming for the wedding. He says that his dad is coming, and this will be his first time meeting KB as well. And he lets us know that his trifling ass mother is not coming because she has personal things going on. I said, more personal things going on than her son's wedding? You trifling ass bitch. Like, you got on here talking about you raised him, and we all know you didn't. and you got on here trying to act like you were super genuine, you care so much about your son, you don't give a fuck about your son, because if you did, you would be here on the most important day of his life, which is getting married. What more personal things do you have going on that you can't be there for your son? That made me feel so bad for him, man. Like, even though I don't feel like they should be getting married, that made me feel so bad for him. I felt so bad for him. But and you can tell he was hurt by it. Like, of course he was hurt by it. But he says that it's sad that she wouldn't come, and he says that he wishes that she was there because he wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here on my wedding day if it wasn't for you. AKA, I wouldn't be here on this earth if it wasn't for you. You could at least be here for me this day. Like, what? But KB's mom is telling him, like, don't let it dampen your mood. She's trying to, like, lift him up and says, like, I know it hurts, but don't try not to let it dampen your mood. And she's pouring into him, and she gives him her blessing and pretty much states, like, I just want y'all to be happy. And she then goes back in there with KB as she's finishing getting ready. And she tells her about going in the room with Edmund and says, like, it's just something about him. Like, she likes him. But KB then says, like, yeah, I love the mess out of him. But Edmund's now fully dressed, and he's still got that pick in his head. Went to the altar with that pick in his head. I said, this is insane, Edmund. Like, come on. But this was the sweetest part, though. His 5th grade teacher came, and he talks about how special it is for her to be there because, like, he didn't have a guardian growing up. As we all know, he was in and out of the foster care system. And his 5th grade teacher kind of served as that. Like, she always looked out for him. She always provided him meals when he didn't have food. When his grades were bad, she was giving him extra tutoring. It's just proof of what teachers are. I'm about to shout out the teachers, man, because teachers don't get enough credit. They don't get enough credit personally, and we already know they don't get enough credit financially. Like, the things teachers do, this is indicative of what teachers do. I have teachers to this day that I still, one of my 8th grade teacher who I acted like Edmund, like his teacher's about to say, I acted a plumb fool in her class in 8th grade. And she caught, my mama was sitting in the class with me at one point because I was acting a fool in the class. And I remember her name to this day, Jennifer Heyman, Miss Heyman. We're friends on Facebook. We literally were friends on Facebook since 8th grade. And she still is. She still tells me happy birthday every single year. It's just those type of bonds that you create with teachers. They're just amazing people. They're people that you need in your life. And there's certain teachers that do serve these roles as like guardians for kids that don't have a true guardian in her life. And I just want to give her props for that as well. But he thanks her for always being in his life, and she's crying, stating that she always has and she always will be. She talks about how she's prayed for him and she will continue to do that. And she was like, I feel like a proud mama. And I'm like, I'm glad you do, because essentially at this point, he ain't got no mama. Like, it's nice to see that he did have a mother figure in her. But he tells her that, like, he tells her that KB's the one. Like, she's the one. He tells her how much she, talking about the teacher, has impacted him on his life. And she was like, you've impacted mine too. You changed the way I teach as a teacher, and you just made me a better teacher as well. KB is now fully dressed, and she tells us she loves her some Edmund. I'm like, she's all in. She's all in. But he's over there telling his boys that he's essentially been waiting on this day. They encourage him, and he's sitting there screaming to us like Edmund does about how good he's feeling. But his dad is there. We didn't even get to see them really interact. Now I'm sitting here thinking about it. They didn't interact at all. I'm like... But Edmund is being walked in by his teacher. I'm like, you trifling ass mother. Like, this could be you, but you... But KB, her mom is walking her in, and she's starting to get nervous. And in this moment, I could tell what was really going to happen here. But her mom tells Edmund, as she walks KB to Edmund, to take care of her, and he's like, I will. But Edmund is consistently telling KB how beautiful she looks, He tells her how much he loves her. He's just constantly pouring it on. She's stating it back, but not as much. Not as much. I was paying attention to all this. But the officiant begins, and Edmund pretty much starts professing his love to KB about how much he loves her. She's getting emotional. He is too, talking about how he's been praying for somebody like her. Everything they talked about, he's ready for it all. He's ready to grow as a man. He wants to do that with her, yada, yada, yada. And she then tells him how easy it was for her to fall for him. I said, oh, we about to have the same thing happen, aren't we? Same shit Allie said. But she talks about how, like, his story is being part of the reason she fell in love with him. We know that's the reason why you were with him as long as you were, because you were literally working without getting paid. But maybe you were, because this screamed stage. But she then starts talking about how strong and how genuine he is, and how happy she is that it was him that she fell for. And he taught her things about her that she didn't know that she needed to work on. But the officiant then asked Edmund, do you take KB to be your wife? He says he does. She then asks KB if she takes Edmund to be her husband. She's looking down, just like Allie. She's starting to, and then she starts crying. I said, oh. And this man started screaming like he was getting stabbed. I said, Edmund, reel it in. But he already knew what was happening. But she says, I'm sorry. And she starts crying now. And she was like, you deserve somebody that's 100% at the altar. And I'm just not at this point. I'm like, you already know that. You know that. Like, I just feel bad. It makes me feel even worse for him considering everything that this man has gone through in his life. And then watching this show, these producers ain't shit putting him on the show because everything is a humiliation ritual when it comes to Edmund. He did not need to be on the show. And then everything that has happened since then, he's literally been humiliated. His mother did it again. KB, you did the right thing. I just wish she would have done it earlier. I just wish she wouldn't have let it get to this point. Because she's smart. She's not stupid. I feel like she already knew this was not what she needed. But why did I say her? I don't know what the fuck I wrote. She said something like, oh, she said me not saying yes, like my no, doesn't mean that I don't accept or love you. But she then says like it wasn't an easy decision. And he then starts scrunching that face up, doing them faces that he does. But she then says, she asked him, is he okay? What do you think? And he was like, I mean, I'm okay, but I'm not okay. Like what you want me to say? But she says she's sorry that she's the reason that he's not. But he then starts crying. She's apologizing. And he tells her like he respects her no matter what. He tells her that she's great and she looks good. They then start complimenting each other. And this is when I was like, this is staged. Because why are y'all not... It's like y'all went from being emotional to now, like, you look good. You look good. Like, what? I'm like, y'all literally just ended y'all's engagement. I don't want to say ended y'all's engagement, but y'all are literally about to get married. And then y'all just called it off at the wedding. And y'all are like borderline about to dap each other. I'm like, come on. How much did y'all get paid for this? But they then walk off hand in hand. But she then starts talking to him about how she stayed because she fell for him and she'll never forget him. But he then walks off. She does as well. And she's now in the room with her mom, stating that she feels bad seeing how hurt he was. And her mom was like, I mean, what if you would have said yes? She says, I would have been miserable. We know you would have. But she then says like she just feels bad. And her mom was like, yeah, you're a human being. Nobody wants to hurt anybody. But at this point, you don't have to feel bad for choosing you, which she's right. She's right. I just wish she would have chose you earlier. But her mom then says like what would have hurt him most is living a lie. That is the truth. That is also true. But Edmund's teacher is the only person that came to him. I was like, where is his friends at? Where is his father at? Like, why are you not the first one over there? But then again, we know how you are too. But Edmund's teacher is pretty much coming in and pouring into him and telling him like God has other plans. You just don't know it yet. All of that's facts. But we wrap up with the last couple that we haven't seen, Jordan and Megan. They're at home. They're not getting married. So he asked her how her day was. And she was like, I mean, I woke up a mess at 4:30 in the morning and I just feel like we're two different people. He says that I don't think we're really that different. They're really not. I agree with Jordan. The only thing that's different is them tax brackets. That's really what it is. And one has a child and the other doesn't. But she then says like, you're like very simple. Like you do the same thing every single day. And obviously she don't. She's very spontaneous and she has the ability to do that. But he then says, okay, so what? Like we don't have to do the same things. We're just not compatible. And if I had $1 million, I'd be doing everything with you. Like basically he's saying like, if I had the money to do what you wanted me to do, we could do it. Which is why they shouldn't have been together either. It just was not going to work. She's living a lifestyle that he can't live like right now. And it's not wrong for her to live that lifestyle and want that lifestyle. And I feel like it's just like, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't in this situation. At this point, like they just were not made to be married. Like it just was not going to happen. But she then says like, I know you're encouraging me to do the things that I do. I've been doing that by myself. But I want to do that with a partner, and I've never dated somebody with a kid. Most men that I've dated have had flexible schedules. So I'm like, at this point, why would you choose to be with him? And he says, I don't know why you chose me in the prize then. I agree because he's made that very clear. Like he made that very clear. He's been very forthcoming about everything that comes with his life since being in those pods. One thing y'all cannot say about Jordan is that he pulled the wool over her eyes. He was very upfront. Probably the most upfront out of everybody on this cast. But he then says that. And she says, like, I mean, I didn't know how it truly was. I don't know how you... What? But he then says that I told you that essentially you would have to make sacrifices, and I'm just wanting to be a good dad and a provider. And she tells him, like, he's easy to love. 3 times today. 3 times. But she said, I just leaned into the opposites attract. But I did have reservations, and I felt like I shouldn't be going that way. I shouldn't be feeling that way going into the wedding. You're not wrong. She's not wrong. But she's like, I feel sorry for not being more understanding, essentially, and we just can't do it. And she starts crying, telling him that she loves him, but it just doesn't feel right. And he's crying now, too. And she thanks him for introducing her to Luca. And she says, I know that was huge, and I know at this point it's not only you, it's him as well. And I'm like, and Jordan is just sitting there silent. And he says, like, I really don't have nothing else to say at this point. Like, I'm just going to go try and get my son from school. So she apologizes again, but he tells us that he thinks that the lifestyle difference is the only reason they didn't get married. I agree. I do agree. Even though I feel like they shouldn't, because it was clear it was a trauma bond. Like, she was trauma bonding with him having a son that has diabetes. But outside of the money thing, I feel like she still would have went down and actually married him. Like, truthfully, because of that. But he was stating that too. He was like, if I had money, I feel like we would have gotten married. I don't disagree with you. But the producers end up asking him if he has any regrets. And he says that he wishes that he didn't introduce her to his son. I said, damn. Damn. And he said that he feels like she doesn't love him for him. And that's the closure that he needed. I said, yeah, she was trauma bonding with your son. That's what it was. Like, man, this season is a trip, boy. I can't wait for this reunion. Y'all let me know what y'all think down below. Thumbs up the video, hype the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new. I will see y'all next week for the reunion, and then we done with another Love Is Blind season. Peace.